Alright, today's video, basically what I'm going to show you guys how to do is to do a window using SketchUp. I know we've done already the shapes in SketchUp with the first assignment. This one is a little bit more advanced, I would say, than doing just basic shapes. So to start with, when you go to your classroom, you'll see the assignment here. And you should see a video down here on the bottom that which is the video I'm making right now. So the video is not here, but you'll see the video, and you can watch the video and just kind of work with the video as you go through SketchUp. Then you're going to have to go ahead and open up SketchUp. Now, since you've done SketchUp already, over here on the waffle, you may see the SketchUp icon. If it's not there, just simply go ahead and type in SketchUp. Oops. And you can go ahead and go to the SketchUp website or app. Okay, so then once you're in and you've signed in, you can go ahead and just click Start Modeling. And just what we did with the shapes, we have this lady here. We can go ahead and just click on her and delete her. And to start with, we need something to put our window on. So basically what you're going to do is build kind of a little house. And we're going to use, to start with is the rectangle tool. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool. This one right here is the one I need, top one. And it's going to drag a box out here. It needs to be approximately about 15 by 15 or so. It doesn't have to be exact. See, mine's 16 by 11. That's fine. And then what I do need to do is this next one has to be at least about 10 feet tall. So I'm going to use my push-pull tool, which is this tool right here. Click on that. Here's the push-pull tool. And I'm going to drag this up to about 10 feet. And you can see over there in the distances that it's about 10 feet, 10 and a half feet right now. So go ahead and click that, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be exact for this. I just need a surface to put my window on. So then, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start our window with what the shape of a window would be, which is a rectangle. So I'm going to use my rectangle tool again. Come over here to the rectangle. And I'm going to put it someplace here on the middle of my shape that I built. So I'm just going to click, and I'm going to drag it up. And I want to make this sure this shape is about 4 feet by 3 feet. It doesn't have to be exact. As you can see, it says 4 feet by 2 feet right now. I'm going to, just like I did with the shapes, I'm just going to type, and I'm not going to click in that box. You see my cursor's up here. I'm going to type in 4, and it changes down its dimensions, apostrophe, comma, 3, apostrophe, enter. And you can see my shape then adjusts to 4 foot by 3 feet. Okay, so now I can kind of zoom in here, and how I zoomed in, if you're not sure, if I use the wheel on my mouse, I can kind of scroll in to that shape a little bit. Alright, so now the next step, what we're going to do is I need to offset this. Now to offset, the offset tool is right here where it says, where I have the push-pull tool. If I click that, there's a couple other tools in that section. You have the push-pull tool, you have the follow me tool, and then you have the offset tool. So I'm going to go ahead and select that offset tool, and you can see that when I go on my shape here, the cursor kind of snaps to the edge, one of the edges, because that's what you're going to try to offset that shape. So I'm going to go ahead and come down this edge here. I'm going to click, drag towards the center, and you can see my distance down there is about 5 inches right now. I want to make this about 3 inches, and to do that I'm just going to click on it, then go ahead and type 3, And then in this case I need to put quotations because quotations means inches. So I hit the shift key and the quotation key, and then you can see I have 3 inches, and then I'm going to hit enter and it will adjust to 3 inches. Alright, so now the type of window that we're going to make is called a double hung window. Now, to do a double hung window, what that means is basically you have a window, basically has 2 main panes. The bottom pane is kind of in a little bit, and to open it you would slide it up past the top window. So we need to divide this window into 2. That's the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to use the line tool, and I just need the straight line tool. So if I come along this edge, I'm going to kind of drag the pencil down until I find the midpoint. You can see that the midpoint turns blue. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and then drag it straight across on the red axis, and then click on the other side and find that midpoint. So now I have 2 halves. Then I'm going to go back and use my offset tool again. And you'll notice that when I'm on my offset tool that it's not changing. I want to offset this shape right here, and it's kind of locked on this shape right here, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to have to do first is I'm going to have to go over here to select. Just click that select tool. I'm going to scroll out. Then I'm going to click someplace over here in this gray area, and that will unlock it. And now I can go back to my offset tool, click on that offset tool, and now it'll change to what I want to offset. So I'm going to scroll back in, come back up to this top part of my window. I'm going to click on this edge, and I'm going to drag it in. And this one I want to be about 2.5 inches. Now we'll do 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to click there, type in 1.5, hold shift, click apostrophe, hit enter, and then it'll adjust. Now I want to make sure that I get the second one the same. To make sure that it's the same, I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I'm on this side, the side edge, not the top edge. I want to make sure that the dot's on one of the sides. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag towards the center. I'm holding on to my left mouse button, and then I'm going to take my cursor, slide it up here, and then drag it over to this edge right there. And that will copy it. And you can see down where it says distance in the bottom right hand corner, it says 1.5 inches because I'm locked on that edge. Go ahead and let go, and now those are both the same. Okay, so then the next step is, this is where it kind of gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to use my orbit tool. If you're not sure what the orbit tool is, how I get to it is I can press in on the wheel on your mouse, and that'll allow you to orbit. Or there's the orbit tool here, and then you can use your left mouse button and orbit it to where you need to. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I need to push this bottom window in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to push both windows in a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and use my push-pull tool. Now, right now it's the offset tool, so I got to change that to the push-pull. Come over here, and I'm going to start with the bottom. No, I'll start with the top. I'm going to push this part in first, and I want to push it in about 1 inch. Okay, so I'm going to type in 1, quotation, enter. And then this frame, I'm going to also push in back to that face. And you can see that I can just go ahead and drag it in, and then touch this face, and it will lock to 1 inch. Now I need to do the same with these. I'm going to go back to that 1 inch first, so it's kind of pushed in a little bit, but then I'm going to push this bottom window in a little bit more. So to do that, I'm just going to push this frame in first, and I'm going to push it in about 2 inches. So I'm going to type in 2, apostrophe, enter, and I'm going to do the same thing with this part of the window here. And I can touch that face again, right there, and it will mark it at 2. So now the window's starting to take a little bit of shape. Another thing I want to offset is I'm going to come out to, or not offset, but push-pull. I'm going to take the outer frame, and I'm going to pull that out a little bit as well. This doesn't have to be anything exact. I'm going to make it about an inch. It's 1 inch and 1/16. If you want to change it to 1 inch, you can do that. You don't have to. All right, so now the next step is I'm going to go ahead and make a frame, make some windows, separate window panes on the inside part of this window here. Now to do that, we're going to go ahead and use our line tool, and I'm going to just draw a plus, more or less. Let's try to find the midpoint on the top, come down to the midpoint on the bottom. You can see it's on the blue axis. Draw that line straight down. Then I'm going to do the same thing here on the side. Find the midpoint, drag it across. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to come down here, find that midpoint, drag it down, come over here to this side, drag it across like so. Alright, so that looks pretty good, but I want to make it a little bit more three-dimensional. To do that, I'm going to go back to my offset tool, which is, again, now it's the push-pull tool, so I got to go switch it back to the offset. I'm going to come on this top left-hand corner frame here, and I'm going to drag in, and I only want to make this a 1/2 inch. So 0.5 inches, like so. You could make it smaller too. You can make it a 1/4 inch if you want to, but I'm going to use a 1/2 inch because it just makes it a little bit easier to see. Then I'm going to come over here to this edge here, and just like we did with the window frame, I'm going to click on this edge, drag it up, and I'm going to copy that edge. So you can see that the distance is a 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to come to this edge, and I'm in this, you can see I'm highlighted in this cell. I'm going to click, drag it over this time, and then I'm going to touch this line, and it will copy that. And then I can do the same here. Whoops. If you make a mistake, just click the undo button, go back, and then hit that edge. Now I can also do this same thing, even though they're not on the same plane still, I can still copy these distances. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, drag it in, and come up to this edge here, and you can see that it's a 1/2 inch. And then I can do the same thing for each of these other frames. Alright, so then the next step is I'm going to go ahead and erase that center line. I don't need that anymore. It was basically just a guideline, so I'm going to use my eraser tool. Just click on that center point and it will get rid of that line in the middle. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my push-pull tool. So I'm going to go back to my offset, switch it to the push-pull, and I'm going to go ahead and push this in a little bit. And we'll go in, I think, a 1/2 inch. So 0.5 quotation, hit enter, and then I can copy that distance for all of these and just drag and touch that face. Drag over here, I'm going to touch that face and copy it. Do the same thing with all of these. The only problem is now I can't do that with this because otherwise it's pulling it out. See how that pulls it out? So now I got to do it again down here on the bottom. Just go ahead and type in 0.5 inches, and then you can copy each of those same shapes, or I should say distances. Now I want to give a little more definition to my window. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to take this frame and just pull it out about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to say 0.25 inches. And do the same thing down here on the bottom. 0.25 inches. And I have this little line here. You'll notice I don't want that line anymore. So I'm going to erase that line. Like so. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. We're almost done, actually. We have a few more things to do. Alright, so now the next step, what you're going to do is we're going to dress this window up a little bit more. So to do that, what we're going to do is the first step is we're going to put shutters on it. Here's how I will do shutters on this particular window. I'm going to scroll in, and you can kind of see that, you know, now that we have this frame out here, it's kind of pulled out about 1 inch there. I'm going to take my push-pull tool, and I'm going to come to this small little edge right there. Now if I just pull this out, it's just going to stretch this out like that, and I don't want to do that. What I need to do is I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard, then I'm going to come to this edge, and then I'm going to drag it out, and you'll see that it kind of leaves that line there. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag this out to about 1 foot. You can see mine's 1 foot 1/4. I mean, that's pretty good, but I'm going to make sure that's 1 foot. So I'm just going to type in 1 apostrophe enter. Alright, so I have that side done. Now let's rotate over. I'm going to come to the other side and do the same thing on this side. Hold Control and drag it out. Now notice what happened. I held Control this time and it didn't work. I'm just going to click undo and try it again. Hold Control, and oops, if I grab the right thing, maybe it'll work. There it goes. And I can go ahead and drag that out, and sometimes it will snap since I already measured something 1 foot, but it doesn't seem to be snapping. So I'm just going to drag it out, type in 1 apostrophe, or yeah, and enter. Alright, so now it's starting to look a little bit more like a window. Now I'm going to dress these shutters up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my line tool, and I'm going to put divide the shutter in half. So I'm going to click right here in the midpoint, drag straight across to that point, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side, like so. Then I'm going to go to my offset tool again. It's in push-pull mode right now, so I have to go ahead and click that, click offset, come over here to this top frame. I'm going to drag it in, and I think we'll do 1.5 inches. Okay, so it snapped to 1.5 inches, but if you don't have 1.5 inches, you can just type in 1.5 apostrophe enter. It will adjust. Then I'm going to copy that for each of these frames. So just like I did with these frames in the middle, I'm going to do the same thing here. Come to this edge, click, drag over. I'm going to come up and touch this line right there, and it will copy it. Now I'm going to come over here to the center line and make sure I'm on the bottom. You can see I'm in the top frame. I'm going to click that, drag up, come all the way across, and then touch this line right here, and then we'll copy that. And then I could do the other bottom half from over here. Make sure I'm on this edge here, drag it around up, and then touch that edge, and then there you go. So now that's looking actually pretty good, but I'm going to do a couple more things here. I'm going to go ahead and erase that center line. I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and push this frame in a little bit to make this outer edge stand out a little bit more. Now actually we probably could just do this the easy way. Use the push-pull tool. I'm going to come over here, and again it's kind of locked on my building, so I got to go ahead and use the select tool, click off of the shape someplace, go back to the push-pull tool, and I'm going to be on this part of the frame, and I'm going to drag it out a little bit like so. And I can copy that edge right by going over here and touching this face like so. Right, see that? And it just kind of makes the shutters stand out a little bit. Alright, so now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build, put a little windowsill on it. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on this line, the line tool, and then I'm going to click on this edge right here, and I'm going to drag over, and you got to make sure that you kind of zoom in here because you don't want to be on this edge. you have to make sure you're on this edge. And you can see that I have the red line going across there. You want to make sure it's red. If I come out here, it's not going to work. You have to make sure you're on this little edge that we made right there. So I'm going to click that right there like so. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Make sure I go to the right edge, not this one, but this one. And now I should be able to use my push-pull tool and slide this out. Now you'll notice that it stops right there. That's because that's the offset limit saying. But if I click on it a second time and then pull it out, it will allow me to pull this out a little bit more, like so. And that kind of gives it like a little windowsill. I don't like these two lines coming out, so I'm going to make sure I erase those two lines, like so. Now if you really want to get fancy, which you can do, so I'm going to take my pencil tool, I'm going to scroll down, roll down over here to the bottom. I'm going to click on this end point, drag it straight across to this end point, and then I'm going to use my push-pull tool, and I'm going to slide this down a little bit like so, to kind of give it a little bit more of a frame. And then basically that's it. Now what you can do is you can color it. Now to color it, there is the paint bucket. So we're going to take my paint bucket, and there's all kinds of different colors that I can use. Alright, so when I click on the colors, and there's different types of materials, you can go ahead and click the Browse button here. I'm going to first go to Colors, and I'm going to just pick a color to make my frame. In this case, I'm just going to use kind of like I think a gray color. Scroll in, and I can click on my frame like so. And it I want to make sure I hit everything here, including the top part of the window, the inside edge, and it makes that frame kind of jump out a little bit. Make sure I get all of these down here. Like so. And I think I missed the top one. So that kind of just does my frame like that. Whoops, I don't want to do my building. Alright, so then another thing you can do is also the shutters. Now what I normally do for the shutters is I like to use something like these window coverings right here. You can just open up those window coverings down here, and then they have some things that kind of look like slats, and we can put that in here like so. Now the only thing is, in doing this, these I used to be able to change the colors of these. When you use the desktop version of this program, you can change the colors, but obviously you guys are not going to have the desktop version, and it does actually cost money now to download it, so we're not going to worry about that too much. You can just go ahead and use, if you want to use just the grayish or black ones here. If you don't have to, you can just basically change the colors to whatever color you want. I'm going to go ahead and make the rest of the shutters black, kind of make them stand out a little bit like that. Make sure you do all the different edges like so, and then that's basically it. Now the one other thing that you could do is you can see right here, right below colors, you have something called glass and mirrors. If I click on that, there's different surfaces that you can actually use for your window panes. So I'm going to use this one here. Go ahead and click on each one of those like so. It makes it look more like glass, and you can actually look and see inside the building there. You can kind of look through it and see the corners of the inside parts of the walls. So that's kind of neat. So basically that's it. Then your window is done. Now in order to save it, just go ahead and click Save up here in the top left hand corner, and it will be saved to your SketchUp folder. Now let's see, it should be saved there. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my classroom. This is how I'm going to turn it in. I'm going to come back here to my window, my assignment, in my classroom. I'm going to go ahead and click. I don't want to just hit click mark as done because I need to turn it in. You need to send it to me and submit it. So I'm going to add it. So I'm going to click add and create. And then I should be able to go to my Google Drive. It should actually be saved in my Google Drive. Let's see if it's there. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, window in SketchUp. You can see it there. Then I'm going to just go ahead and click add. And you'll see that it's adding that work right there in my assignment. Then I can go ahead and click turn in. And if I turn it in, if I was to go to the classroom, I'm going to go to a classroom as the teacher now, so you can kind of see what it will look like from my end. I can go to school work or students work. You can see I have one turned in there, the SEVD 2019. That's my sample student, and that's the SketchUp assignment that was turned in. Okay, that's what I need to be able to see from you. I need to be able to see your turned in work. If you have any questions about this, feel free to go ahead and email me, and that will be great. All right, thanks.